Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home. Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Welcome to the Free Birth Society podcast. This is a radical space for women who are ready to celebrate their autonomous choices in birth, motherhood, and beyond. Together, we'll learn about wild birth through personal narrative, we'll explore the politics of birth, and we'll analyze everything that relates to our lives as women from a feminist perspective. Here's your host, Emilee Saldea.
It's been a while, freedom child, since I've left my roots back home.
Women, we've made it, season 8 at the end, a whole nother season down of story medicine, truth-telling, remembering, and deep reclamation. And I want to begin this season finale by first saying thank you from the bottom of my heart, my full and bursting heart, to every single woman who has ever come onto this podcast this season and over all the many years now that we've done it, to share your stories, your courage, your vulnerability, your devotion to truth. Gosh, it just matters so much, and it's changing the world. It's obviously changed you, and it's changing me, and now it's changing thousands and thousands of women and families who tune in every week from every corner of this earth. This is a real movement now, a very, very real one, and it's because of each and every one of you. So thank you all for being here in one way or another. So while we're here, before we dive into today's big conversation with the one and only Sister MorningStar, let me remind you that this is it. This is your last chance to join us, me, all of us that will be together this summer for Matriarch Rising Festival. It is the 5th and final one. Our last sacred summer solstice gathering, our last dance under the stars, our last chance, at least for now, to be together in the flesh on this amazing land in sisterhood with me and the legendary Sister MorningStar and so many special, powerful women. So, if you've been feeling the pull, please come. Don't wait. Do not miss this. It's going to be pure magic. It always is. It's the kind of magic that really can change you forever. And then we will take our annual summer pause, first to focus on Matriarch Rising, and then this summer to prepare the nest for my upcoming birth. Ooh! Still adjusting to that one. I really just kind of can't believe it. Starting to get excited, but wow, I'm going to give birth again. Please keep me in your prayers, in your hearts. August is my birthing month. And with that portal opening, we're also going to be opening up enrollment for our incredible long-form program, Match-A-Birth Mentor Institute. This is by far the most potent container that Yolanda and I have ever created for women who are learning to walk this sovereign path of professional birth work. It's incredibly dynamic. It has an intensive dripped library of lectures and classes, 2 monthly calls with Yo and I, and a regular mentor session with your assigned pod, a small group with a personal mentor. Not to mention our monthly spotlight teachers who bring an expert level workshop. So if you want to learn how to step into the free birth world professionally, MMI is the program for you. Enrollment will open August 1st. We'll begin the school September 1st. So if you feel the call, you can get on the wait list. The link is in the show notes below. Also, something super special is coming your way in July. Last year, Elder Midwife, my dear friend, Sister MorningStar, and I co-created a retreat that we called the Midwife Within. And we had the most magical 5 days. We had it professionally filmed and beautifully edited. And we're going to release it as a virtual retreat, a virtual training in early July. So 5 full days of sisters' brilliance and wisdom, all wrapped in a cozy, soul deep retreat energy. You're going to feel like you were right there with us. So keep your eyes out for that too. If you've ever wanted to come to Matriarch Rising or visit Sister on her holy land and haven't been able to, then this virtual retreat is really made for you. And speaking of new things, we're shaking it up next season here on the pod. We will be back 1 month earlier than usual in August with season 9. We've got some really big up levels coming your way. I'm really excited. Also, we're adding a new segment called Ask Emilee to the end of each episode. You women have been requesting this for so long, so you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link to the pod page, and then you can write in with your situation or your questions and hear from me directly at the end of each episode. I can't wait to connect with you all in that way. We'll be grabbing them all summer long, so if you have a burning question or are looking for some guidance, go down to the show notes and drop your question. Our team will review it, and hopefully I'll be speaking about it soon. One last thing, if you own or are a part of a brand that feels truly aligned with our values here at Free Birth Society, I am opening up a very limited number of advertising spots for season 9. So this is the first time we've ever done this, and if it feels right, I want you to reach out to my team at podcast@freebirthsociety.com, and we'll see if we can make it happen. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for riding the season 8 waves with me. Thank you for being a part of this worldwide ancestral remembering. Our community is growing, the movement is spreading, and women everywhere are choosing to birth in power and to step into this sacred work professionally. I'm really blown away year after year. I know I always say this, but I'm just so proud. And I'm really grateful beyond words to be alive during this extraordinary time on Earth. So enjoy this final episode of season 8. It's a really special one. It's with Sister MorningStar, who has shaped this movement and my life in more ways than I could ever really say. So what a way to close the season. Lots of love to all of you. Thank you for being here with me, and I will see you soon for season 9. All right. Welcome back, Sister Morningstar, my dear friend.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I've
thank
left
you.
my little cottage in the woods and come to town to talk with you.
I'm very
Again.
honored. Yeah, again, you've been visiting this podcast, I think, since its second season. So if any of you are new to Sister, go back to the beginning, because she's talked about village prenatals and newborn first breaths and all sorts of really wisdom-rich information. And so today, I just couldn't think of a better woman to close out this season with and have a flowing conversation around some of, well, my favorite topics. And then realizing as I get to sit down with you that there are some things I really want to know about you, and that I've read. I've read your book. I know that these stories are contained in your book as you wrote them at that time in your life. But I thought it would be so cool to open up this conversation with you sharing in whatever way you really want about your own 3 births, your lessons of them. I'm sure there's many. And I'd like to take that into learning more about what your birth work looked like in your younger years, because I know there's a really big story there. Yeah, and you've just been, I mean, you're a legend. You're so inspirational to us as sovereign birth workers, and learning how to hold this torch, with you in this time. So, yeah, just start wherever you want. We'll see what happens.
Well, okay, I'm happy to do that. It's reminding me right now to anoint us all, whoever's here with us, that we are torch bearers of truth. So I'll begin with my story, but as I'm speaking, of course, you have a story. You dear women, or even the sacred masculine out there, if you happen to listen. Let's see where I would begin about birth. It would be my own birth, right? Because I was born of a woman, and my lineage people, Cherokee, my mother was dying of tuberculosis, so I was born in a TB sanitarium in 1953 where no other babies were born. So the people there were dying of tuberculosis at the time. And so I was born, she weighed 65 pounds when they brought her in.
Whoa.
And there I was. I was born this living, healthy creature in a space where everything was dying. And so I have this, my own cellular memory. And of course, when I've done regression therapy and all of that, but I already knew it, like just so much joy at my birth. This was just me being born. I could just feel all the happiness, everyone so thrilled that this little life was infusing the atmosphere.
Wow.
And my mother was not allowed to touch me, of course. I was taken immediately away and even sent to a different hospital a little bit down the way. And a nurse cared for me until my grandparents were able, who could not read or write, were able to negotiate with the health department to get me to have their own blood with them. And this was a big story. This was my beginning of my life.
Wow.
Mother didn't die, but she was there another year and a half or 2 years.
Oh my
And
God.
my parents were constantly in the, how do I say, not negotiation, but so they would try to get, the Department of Health would try to get my mother to sign me over adoption to this beautiful nurse, I'm sure, Mrs. Crutchfield, if anybody knows Mrs. Crutchfield in 1953 that had a little baby named Sandra with her. Anyway, mother would not sign me over because I was a girl. She said, if you had been a boy, I would have signed you over, but you were a girl. No, they cannot have my girl. And then my grandparents, who constantly, the department would say, well, we need this from you and that from you. It was through the mail because it was not in the same town. This was a long time ago and a long way apart at that time. It was not the same as traveling, and of course, no phones and internets and this and that. So it would be through the mail and they would send something back and then they'd get something back that, no, we need this and that. And they didn't read and write. And it finally, the story goes, according to my people and my Aunt Shirley, who's still living, that Papa and Granny just got a vehicle and drove to this town with the Department of Health. And Papa had his shotgun. And he just said, you have our baby and you need to give her back. Like, we're done with all your this and that. You have our baby and she's ours. You need to give her back. And that's how I ended up with my grandparents being raised in the woods. And this is my beginning.
Whoa.
So of course, I didn't really know or consciously think about that when I was starting to have my baby. My first child, at that time, it was just go to the hospital. So I was born, remember, in this sanitarium, which wasn't a baby hospital, but still was hospital. First child in the lineage of all of our people to be born in facility.
Whoa.
My mother, of course, was born at home. Granny was born at home. Everybody born at home. And so this was a big shift. And then I was going to be having my child in this hospital. And the doctor, Dr. Furneaux, he checked me first time I had ever been to a doctor, and he said, I give you maybe 50-50 chance to have a natural birth. You're small. And I remember leaving that appointment, and it just never occurred to me that he knew what he was talking about. So these things, they shaped me being with women later. So for example, in my brain, I didn't give it a second thought because my first thought was, one, he doesn't know my people. Two, he doesn't know me, what I'm capable of. And all my people were little. I was no littler than they were. They had all had babies. So these 2 points he knew nothing about. And three, he was man. I thought, how can he know anything about what I'm capable of? So 3 counts, it never occurred to me. Later, when I was helping other women, and they would, say, well, but the doctor said, and the doctor said, and the doctor said. What was shocking to me was not that the doctor said this or that, but that they believed him. I
Totally.
was like, wow, why would you believe someone who knows nothing? Anyway, so back to that baby. It was my first baby. Supposedly, I went past their due dates. I sat in the creek naked, water rushing over me in the August and September months. And she was born October 10th, a little bit past what they thought. Uh, but she was born in an hour and 53 minutes.
Whoa.
So I was, contracting in the last little bit. I had a big garden. Oh my goodness, acre of tomatoes, putting up vegetables. And the doctor would say, you need to get off your feet. And the father of my children, he bought me a stool so I could sit on the stool to do the vegetables and be off my feet. So this is the way we handled things back in the day, in the creek and in the gardens and this and that. And then one night at 11 p.m., my waters just rushed out, of course, abundantly and clear and everything. No contraction at that time. And when I called to let Dr. Furneaux, he said, "Oh, they'll start sometime, and when they do, that's when you can come on in because you're a first-time mother." So it was about 1 o'clock or so, and sure enough, I had a significant change. Like, ooh, I felt my eyes got big, all this big feeling, first time. And so we gathered our things, we went, and so an hour and 53 minutes later, at 2:53, she was born. Well, between that time, things were happening. Of course, I didn't know that much about what is happening. But afterwards, or I should say during it, the nurse, she was shouting at me because it was in 1975. Okay, so they did enema, shave you, then enema, and this and that, and rushing to get me somewhere because things were going quickly, unexpectedly with this first time wild woman, Turkey woman. And they asked me, pick your bottom up and move it to this table because you have to deliver in the surgical room just in case. This is just the way they handled it. And I remember thinking, pick my what up? Like I was just deep in this. I was in love. I loved everything about it. But I just kept thinking I could have so much fun if people would leave me alone. I have a Scorpio moon. I wanted to be alone. They get me over shouting. We get into this surgical room and they have to strap your arms and legs down. This is 1975.
Whoa.
And so I am a survivor, sexual abuse survivor, of course. So as the nurse, she's trying to strap down my legs and strap down my arms. And I'm just pleading, please, please don't strap my arms down. Please don't. And baby coming. And she said, whisper in my ear, I'm so sorry, but I have to. I won't make it tight if you promise me that you won't touch anything, you won't move or touch anything, then I won't make it tight. And so there I am, my legs up in these stirrups, all tied down, my arms tied down. I'm craning my head to see this child. She's just coming so fast. They still do episiotomy, first baby, my mother, so they do episiotomy anyway, because it's just what they do. And I'm just in love. I love everything. Afterwards, I walked to my room, which they didn't allow. I said, I can do it. I can walk myself. They said, okay, we're going to let her. And we did rooming in. It was the only baby in the hospital they did rooming in because I wanted to breastfeed. All the other people were bottle feeding. And they're just studying things, documenting and studying and studying. And so Papa asked me, little one, what did you feel? And I said, well, I felt like um, I felt like the biggest thunderstorm. I felt like a Midwest thunderstorm and lightning and all of the big power, and that it just chose me. It just decided to choose me, all the power of the universe, and move through me. And I felt like someone hitched a team of horses to either side of my hips and told them to giddy up, like two different ways, pulling me apart. And I felt like all of the Niagara Falls, like all of the Russian power just moving through me. And because of that, when I got pregnant with my second daughter, I I said to myself, well, not even pregnant yet, like leaving that experience, I said to myself, there has to be a better way to have a baby than this. It's too much fun. It's too big. It's too amazing. My grandparents got to do this their way. There has to be a better way. And of course, I chose home birth. So, second baby, um, I was just midwife with a midwife, underground midwife, and it's a big story too. I went to back, we had back in the day, so that's now 1978. Everything's still illegal, everything underground. We would like go to a doctor for who knows what, but then we just wouldn't show up. We just birth at home.
Okay.
And the midwife would park at someone's house and then different car take her to a different house and then she would walk over and all this,
Oh my God.
underground stuff that we had to do at the time. So this baby, her water broke and then 4 days later. So no contractions again, water break, no contractions, day after day, and people worried and scared, upset, and father of my children, like, why can't you be normal? I
Mm.
cannot be normal. And I remember some of the families saying, we're going to call the sheriff. And so I
Oh
just
my
decided
God.
day 2 or 3, just take phones off the hook, lock the door. I'm like, okay, nobody can get to me. I'm just going to stay home. And I nursed my toddler. And finally, on day 4, the contraction started with nursing my toddler. And just less than 2 hours later, baby born um, at 1 in the morning. And that time I laid on my side and put my leg over the neck of the father of my children, and he caught that baby, like
And
with just
did the
one.
midwife make it?
She stayed, she was in my home and she stayed outside the door
Hmm.
because that was our plan. She's
Yeah.
like, you're going to birth like a rock star. You're going to do just fine. I'll just be here to clean up and do all the things. So she just stayed outside the door. And so I was in my bedroom with on my side, moonlight. We didn't have any light. Opposite, right?
Oh
Complete
God,
opposite.
seriously.
My legs free, except I had my leg over the neck of my, because he was going to catch, but he was also holding my leg up. And he said, well, I can't hold your leg up and catch the baby. So I said, well, bend your neck down. And so I just threw my leg over his neck and I said, now your hands are free. Okay, so we catch the baby. And then I said to myself, there's got to be a better way to
Hmm.
have a baby than this because I'm having so much fun. And these people, they're bothering me. They're in the way. Still only one person and a person on the outside, still too many for me. So next baby, I'm still nursing. Now I'm nursing 2 babies. Plus I'm going to have another baby in 1980. And this baby, big, long story, beautiful story, but I have her on a beanbag. I had a custom beanbag made so that I could wiggle my butt any position I want, catch my own baby. This was my plan. I'm just going to catch my own baby. And that's what I did. I just it's a beautiful story, and just like everybody's story, beautiful story. But I caught her myself. And when of course, this time she was born in a thunderstorm, 9 in the morning, daylight coming in, but big clashes of thunder and light,
Whoa.
like a Midwest. And she is a Leo with 5 planets in Leo and a moon in Leo. She just a Leo. And I just held her, like silent, everybody be quiet. And I slid my hand under, to feel, is she she-bear, little she-cub, or so third daughter. And I was just absolutely in love and delighted because I said to myself, so this is
Mm.
how I have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my three stories.
Hmm. And so, at what point after, I'm assuming after your third daughter, do you yourself devote your life to birth work?
Okay, no, it didn't work like that. So this is back in the day and underground. So it was long before my third daughter.
Okay.
I had actually been in medical school some years before that.
That's a funny image.
Yeah, so interested in anatomy and
Sure.
physiology and how health and bodies work. Yeah, I'm fascinated by all of this stuff. So anyway, and of course I gave that up and quit that because I became mother, and this was even more powerful. So the power of women is fascinating to me. And after I had my first home birth, then friends and family, my best friend in all the world, she was pregnant, having babies, people all around us having babies at that time, right? And so because I loved birth and I mean loved birth, like I loved birthing. I loved birth. And remember, then it started clicking in my mind, oh, I was born in power. In 1953, when no baby is born naturally, I was born naturally. Mother had nothing because she was dying of tuberculosis. So I was not born like all my peers in 1953. And starts occurring to me, oh, this has been put in me by the great mother, this joy, this ability to support, to do it and to support others who want to do it. So my best friend in all the world, she was having her babies, and we're like twins. She's like 6'2", and her babies are like 12 pounds. And so I was helping her have her babies, and we used to make jokes and walk down the street and see women that were pregnant, and they looked like shit, sorry, but yeah, they did. They looked terrible, swollen and pimply and miserable,
Hmm.
and we would sort of laugh and say, they're probably under the care of a board certified obstetrician, somebody who knows all about having babies. And we were all underground. So that's kind of how my work with midwifery began, is helping my friends and family that I loved and knew. It was birth work became more, I did an apprenticeship with my beloved mentor because what happened is people started calling me that I didn't know.
Right.
And that was a game changer for me.
Sure.
Working with people I knew, it was what the village does.
Yeah.
But then working with people I didn't know, wow, that was a big deal
So,
for
what
me.
was the status of midwifery? This is in the 70s, right? When you had your,
70s, 80s,
yeah.
90s.
So, give us a little snapshot of what midwifery looked like in the 70s into the 80s, if you would.
Well, it would depend on who you are. So if you were a certified nurse midwife working in a hospital, it looked like that. They followed the protocol. Of course, it would change. They would work really hard, tirelessly. Actually, I admire them in their hospitals to try to get, better situation for themselves and for their mothers. Then there were a few nurse midwives who would be fortunate enough, like Dr. Duhart in the St. Louis area, who would sign a protocol, and they were able to help at home births, often for like Mennonite communities or um, Orthodox Jewish or various different communities really devoted to home. And then they were a safer legal option. So everybody else underground. I was underground. I
And
was arrested in 1993. So we were still underground in the 90s.
So in licensure and CPMs and all of that rolled out in the 80s, right?
Yes, so I was a part of all of this we were big visionaries at the time. So I was president of the Missouri Midwives Association, and we came up with, we did all the things. We tried to, we didn't try, we did organize ourselves and educate each other and share ideas, and of course each state back in that time was starting to have their ground movement. And then MANA, Midwives Association of North America, oh my gosh, Ruth Walsh, all of the great ones. Love you, Ruth, wherever you are. uh, we put together an exam like outside of the structure of it all. We just organized ourselves. That all progressed and progressed, and people tried to go to capitals. We did that, and then the national group created a certification process. It was a big, long experience all through the late 80s and 90s coming up. Anne Fry, hi, everybody, working tirelessly to try to create something that would preserve what we experienced as simple and sacred, and yet responsible. We'll say responsible, because like I said, I felt it myself. Helping your own people is very different than crossing that border, crossing that line of helping someone you don't know.
Yeah. What happens for you? Maybe it gets to 1993 first, but you I first came to know of you through your epic letter to NARM, right? That
Yes, this is decades later, of course.
when
We
was
had
that?
When was what
When was
the
that letter?
oh, that would have been, oh my gosh, probably early 20s. Like we're already into the 2000.
Early 2000s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
early 2000s.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
all the
well,
work. Oh, so much work.
right.
It was worth it. It was worth it. The first application department was in my cottage in the woods for NARM.
So
Uh,
to summarize, and correct me if I have this wrong, but you were working very hard for a very long time with many, many, many other midwives to, this might not be the right word, but to legitimize and organize and educate. And so does that imply that you were for and on the track of the CPM licensure certification route?
Absolutely. So I was an apprenticeship trained, and the certification, the whole impetus for it was that it would preserve apprenticeship trained midwives. So it only was then in the middle of all that, like the world just exploded, right? I mean, you know it from having a cell phone, like it didn't exist. So not only technology, but then MEC accredited schools started, or not even accredited yet, schools started being born, and then MEC accredited schools being born, and all of a sudden what was going to preserve apprenticeship training needed to preserve all flows of kinds of midwives. And this is inevitable, right? We just didn't see it as inevitable that you you are doing something that is preserving a counterpart, and then that gets usurped. Robbie Davis Floyd books all documented very well the whole history of what happened. And it was in Miami, Florida. I can't remember the year now, where we were going to like require for the certification PIT and IVs and blah blah blah. And I was the one that blocked it. And it was this big problem, this horrible problem. 40 of us, we'd come so far, and people were pleading. And I was just, I was seen as a boulder and a rock, but I didn't feel that way. I'm not that tall. Like, I just felt like the answer's no. Like,
Right. It's
it's
going
just
off the
no.
rails.
It's just no. It can't be yes. It's no. None of it's even legal in the state I represent. I was representing Missouri, of course, and all of my hundreds of underground midwives who don't use that, who couldn't use that, who wouldn't use that. I'm like, it's a no. And they're like, how could we make it a yes for you? Like, what would it take? And I'm
Yikes.
Cherokee. Like, we don't compromise. Like it if something can be you pass around the talking stick, if it can be found a way where it's a yes for all people, then you move forward. But if it's a no, it's a no. It was a no. It was a clear no. It was not even possible no. It was a firm no. And out of that grew the job analysis. And in the first job analysis that went across North America, including Canada, but US, it came back that the midwives at that time said no. So I was supported and backed up. By the time another job analysis happened, graduates had happened, life moves on, and it became a yes. And so more and more of these, more what I felt was medical skills, they did not feel they were medical skills. Okay, that's how things get redefined and all of that.
Okay.
And so the letter you're referring to came much, much later
Yeah.
when there was no wiggle room for those of us who still did things in the time-tested wisdom ways. There was no wiggle room.
So up until the Miami event, was that the turning point for you where you saw where this was
No,
heading, or did you see it before?
neither. I think I saw it later.
Okay.
I was hopeful, and when the job analysis came back, and most of those midwives, of course, were my age at the time,
Right.
and it came back as like, no, we need to keep this apprenticeship based primarily. We're just tolerating these
Mm.
graduates. But we aged out, or we didn't age out.
Yeah.
Still working, of course, but the groundswell changed. And I don't know that I underestimated it, but I think I still believed or had the vision that, okay, we started it. We're the most. Okay, we're becoming the minority,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still a place for us,
Mm-hmm.
clearly. It's my Cherokee way, I think. Elders, we don't age out the elders. We
Mm.
the elders are our wisdom. It just didn't work that way in mainstream, but oh well.
So let's go back to 1993 for a moment. You said
Okay.
that you got arrested in 1993. What happened?
I was. Let's see. So I'm a Missouri midwife, but the family in the Kansas City area, the border between Kansas and Missouri, it just right there in the metropolitan area. So the family actually lived across the border in Kansas, but it's not like it was a big distance. It just they just did that, just how they resided. And Kansas was a gray state, so Missouri completely illegal, but Kansas was a gray state.
Okay.
Anyway, and this it was a first time mother, and Kathy. Uh, I shouldn't use her. I won't use her last name, but I honor their family. So their baby toward the end was breech. And I won't go into the details of their story. That is not fair or right. But though it is, documented because it was
Right.
a jury trial. So
Mm.
the baby was breech, and my apprentice at the time had had a breech birth, first time mother, and so this influenced quite a bit her confidence and the mother's confidence that this baby could just be born easily breech. Um, it was not easy birth, and the baby was born stillborn.
Mm.
Uh, at that time, so we transported the baby with me doing CPR and got to the hospital, and it was surrounded immediately by law enforcement. And the only thing I was on record for at that time was planned home birth, no heart tones at birth. So from that early January until the jury trial in October, that was the only quote that they had. My attorney, J.R. Hobbs, J.R., if you're out there, or your children or your grandchildren, he's a living saint. It is a big story. Scary story, terribly scary story, because I had three minor children at the time. And so I don't hardly know where to begin. The police confiscated my car and, surrounded the house and
So
all the
when you were at the hospital with the baby and then you went home.
I did not go home, but the other midwife and I, we waited. We went, I guess we waited in the parking lot, eager to see the mother because she had gone by a different car. I and the father, with me doing CPR, had arrived at the hospital. Mother arrived in a different car with a different midwife. And so we waited to get to speak to the mother, see the mother, be confirmed that baby still had no heart tones. And from there, it just became this experience, if anyone has ever had to go through that. So I was arrested on February 12th. My father uh, crossed over on February 5th. All of this has significance for the Cherokee, for example. So baby was born January 24th, and from that day, I was um, talking with my attorney who I didn't even know. I have a family member who was an attorney, but not, what do you call it, criminal attorney. He had this friend in Kansas City who was criminal attorney, J.R. Hobbs, a living saint, and he had called me and said, um, "Are you safe? Do you have something to drink? Uh, can you trust me?" And that began a lifelong, to this day, beautiful relationship. I love law. Of course, I love law because it's mental. I love learning things. Uh, and he taught me to say nothing. He said, it's critical that you practice in front of a mirror. Just practice. My name is this. My attorney's name is this. His number is this. We have every intention of cooperating. And so, as when I would walk out my door, uh, um, the press would be at the door with their cameras and their video machines, their mics, and bombarding me with questions. Why did you kill the baby? These horrible questions.
Wow.
And I would just calmly say, my name is, my attorney's name is, his number is, we have every intention of cooperating. So then my father, he knew about it, but we didn't tell mother. Uh, and then when my grandfather, I don't know how to say it all, my my uncles, people had died. My grandfather really felt that the government had taken his children. And so we, his grandchildren, when we sat on his lap, he would have us look in the eye and he would say, if someone asks you if you're an Indian, tell them no. Always say no. So it was this big concern that the government would take the children. And you see, I'm trying to show the dots. I was a little child born, and my grandparents are afraid the government's going to take their child. It just this theme. I wasn't aware of it, but Papa then, he knew I was, there was this law thing, and he also was afraid government's going to take my child.
Yeah.
And he went to the other side. On February 5th, he died of an aneurysm, a great loss to our people, 1,000 people at his funeral. I needed to go to the funeral, of course. And JR said, you cannot go out of the county. They will immediately take you
Oh
as like you're
no.
trying to run away. I said, JR, I must go. I must go to the funeral. And so we made up this plan. It was before cell phones. So I would stop maybe every 20 miles or so and get on a payphone and call JR and say, I am at this point. I am going to my father's funeral. And then I would stop again. I'm at this point. I'm going to my father's funeral, so that we had recorded my intention, why I was crossing the county lines. And then there I was. I made it to the funeral. I made it all the way back home. My sister, calm spirit, knew. Uh, my mother did not know. Here she lost her husband and everybody. I made it back home, and then by the 12th of February, they put out a warrant for my arrest. So when I went to be arrested, JR said, "You must always do what they tell you, no matter what they do to you. It doesn't matter. You must cooperate." So we were booked. I was uh, for manslaughter. They were awaiting the autopsy. And so I was booked for like 9 different counts of different things, including manslaughter. And this is important part. I want to acknowledge this woman. She was a Black woman. Sorry to be so much in my story, but story is what holds the truth of a people. And so I was arrested, and I had to go in to this place and leave everybody I knew behind. JR said, "Promise me, no matter what they do, you must cooperate, because I can do something about it if you cooperate. But if you show any resistance, they have all the power. I can do nothing. You must cooperate."
Terrifying.
And so we did the booking. I had every intention of cooperating, of course, but we did the booking. Then we have to be uh, stripped. We have to be checked. We have to be put on these other clothes. We have to keep our back against the wall. We cannot go pee. We cannot have a drink. We cannot speak. So then they put me in this tiny cell. It was called a holding cell. And it was interesting because the roof, it was glass. And above the roof was police station. And in the cell, it was tiny holding cell. It had one tiny window that I could look out horizontally. And then people on the top of the ceiling was really a floor of the police, and they could look down and see me. And then they put 2 men in this same cell. I was so scared. And I just kept looking out I had hugged the wall and looked out this window. And I began this mantra. I said to myself, I will be free again. I will walk in the creek again. I will feel the thunderstorm again. And then I could hear the must have been chief of police. He was in the room above me, and he shouted, "What are you doing with get those men out of the cell. We lose our case. Like, there cannot be the men, and get the men out of that holding."
Whoa.
And he said, "Is that her?" It could not be her, because I was being booked as murderer.
Right.
And he's like, he didn't say that, but he was just like, "Are you sure that's her?" And they
This
said,
like
"Yeah,
tiny little fairy praying in the
this
corner.
person." So they get the men out, and they take me out, and then they handcuff us and me to this Black woman and another person, I don't know, and they make us go down this big hallway, but we have to stop, and our back, the lady, the police officer, she's shouting at us, "Back against the wall, back against the wall." And so I have my back as complete. I need to go pee. I need a drink so bad. None of them are midwives, clearly. But this Black woman, she's so angry,
Oh,
and she's so defiant, and she's yanking my arm. And the police officer, she's in her face, shouting at her.
whoa.
And she's shouting back. She's so angry.
Oh my God.
And I just let her yank my arm. I just keep my eyes straight ahead, because the police lady, she said, "Back against the wall," and no speaking, shut up, no speaking, eyes straight ahead. So I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, eyes straight ahead, back against the wall. I'm not speaking. This black lady, I feel her my sister. She had just yanking, and I let her yank my arm. And it was our communication. I was a white woman to her, even though I'm a little bit reddish, and she was a black woman. I could see out of the corner of my eye, and I felt she's my sister. We're in this together. It's us, she and I. And I let her just yank my arm until finally she can see, she can feel I'm not pulling back away from her. And then they file us into the courtroom, and the judge, he's naming the bond for everybody. And my bond is terrible. It does hundreds, thousands of dollars. And then other people, they were like, repeat this and that. Theirs was not so bad, but mine was just so much. And I remembered that when I went in, my sister had said to JR, my sister, Calm Spirit, she had said to JR, it doesn't matter what the bond is, we're getting it.
Yeah.
And JR said, absolutely, it doesn't matter what it is, we're getting it. I did not know what even this bail and bond and whatever. So then they take us back, but they put me in a cell, and it just pure concrete with a metal toilet and a metal bed, but nothing on it. And then they turn the lights out. So then there I am. I'm just in this room, black, completely black. I don't think they meant to turn the lights out, but they did. It was just black. I was trying to remember.
Whoa.
Okay, the toilet was over there.
Oh my God.
I'm just close by the door and not moving
Totally.
and keeping my mantra going. I will walk in the creek again. I will walk away free. I will walk and my feet in the creek. I will sing the songs again. And I don't know how long it was because you lose track of time. But at some point, the door opens and a police officer, she takes me, I'm handcuffed, and she walks me down a long, 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 long hall. And then the door and opens, and there's JR and my sister and life. And JR said, you're free. Come with me. I was not free from my charges, but I was free out on bail and bond. So that was February. And then we could not negotiate anything. They only wanted me in jail. And so it was either jail or I had to go to a jury trial.
Oh my
So
God.
chose a jury trial, and that was then didn't come until October. So from February to October, I sang the song. Please wait for a moment with me. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, I shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. So from February to October, awaiting the jury trial, I just walked bare in the creek, let the waters run over me, and sing this song. I knew when I got to the trial that I was not the one on trial. I knew it was women on trial. I knew it was midwifery on trial. And I just let the voice of the great women from before me come up through my feet, because it went 5 day and we were losing, and end of the 5th day, and JR said, there's no way around it. We're gonna have to put you on the stand, and it always means we're losing. Like to
Ugh.
put the person that's on trial on the stand,
Ugh.
you're losing. You must be so strong. You must stay strong with me. And then it was a 6-hour interrogation. And that is my story. I must say, I've been recording the book, The Power of Women, for audio because people keep asking, Sister, will you make it audio? So I'm in the middle of trying to do this. But can you hear my voice? It's just not professional. It's gonna be me.
It's gonna be perfect. But wait, you can't end it there. 6 hours of interrogation, and then what happens?
Well, okay, this is interesting. So 4 days, various people testifying this and that. And
And the
I
premise, sorry to interrupt you, the premise is you are an illegal midwife who shouldn't have attended this birth, and it's your fault the baby died, right?
correct,
Okay.
correct. So a lot of different what do you call them, counts,
Uh-huh.
but one was practicing medicine without a license, and yeah, all the things that people get charged with. Um, Fortunately, the baby, the autopsy for the baby is that the baby was not alive, and that the oxygen that I put in the baby's lungs, which I did correctly, did not infiltrate into the tissue of the baby. It was only in the lungs. So they couldn't, you cannot charge someone for killing someone who's already dead.
Right.
So fortunately, that charge got dropped. But the other nine, I think 8 or 9 charges they held. So interestingly, the prosecution, so the 2 days before that, uh, or the night before that, JR had me practice. So for a long time, he pretended I was on the stand, and he would throw a question at me, and he would say, you must answer honestly. Even if it makes you look so bad, don't worry about it. You must answer honestly, because if you don't, they will circle back around and they will have you. They will know how to find what is not honest.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it looks terrible, you must say the truth. If you say the truth, uh, keep saying the truth. It's our only hope. And I cannot help you that much. I cannot, what do you call it? When they interrupt and say not a fair question. He said, I cannot say that very much because it make it look like I'm trying to protect you. You must be it yourself. Either you are going to be able to uh, handle this. Usually the people break down, and you must do it. You must do it. So we practiced, and he threw horrible questions at me. So then there I was with the prosecution. They finally provided me my chart because they confiscated all my charts. Of course, they took my car and the charts and everything. And so for the first time, I'm getting to see the chart again. And the prosecution, they asked me 1,000 questions, but it became fascinating for me. I felt finally free to speak because I hadn't spoken anything since January, when I said planned home birth, no heart tones at birth was the only thing that had in all the papers being published in Kansas City Star and this and that. It's all the head of a quote from me. So finally, I'm able to use my voice. Of course, I don't say anything except briefly. He asked me a question. I say yes or no. JR said, don't add anything. Don't defend yourself. Stay with his question. So I imagined myself in the creek, and here's the water. It's rushing at me. And then I'm doing what I can with it, throw it over my head, and get ready for next question. Don't think about the answer. Don't think about his question. And of course, they were all horrible. They were so horrible questions. But what I began to realize is I was there. I knew what happened. He was trying to put together a story. He was trying to put together a picture, and it was inaccurate. It was not an accurate picture. I was the one that was there. I knew what happened. So when he would say something and it was inaccurate, I could just say, no, sir. And I looked at him. He asked me a question. I looked at the jury and gave the answer because it occurred to me, he's nobody. It was a 12-person jury. And it was the jury that was going to make the decision about me. And so I just like, do you see how I'm trying to put things together? Just like the doctor who said, I'm going to give you a 50-50 chance. Maybe you can have your baby. And I thought, well, he doesn't know anything. I felt the same way about this prosecutor. He's nobody. The jury is who's going to decide about me. I'm going to face them and look at them and give them my answer so that they see me and know I'm in relationship with you. All the while I was aware I'm kind of short, so I had to put myself on the edge of the chair in this box and put my feet on the floor, and it was in the third floor up. So I put my feet down through the second floor, down through the first floor, down until I could feel the ground. And I imagined the footsteps of the women from the dawn of Eve, from all the women that had walked on the path, that had helped other women, that had helped at birth, and all the women still walking on the earth. I imagined their voice coming up through my feet and through me and through my voice because it was clear to me when I saw the judge and the jury and the courtroom full and the reporters and the video and that it was women that were on trial, that it wasn't me on trial. Well, it was me. It was them through me, like days of old, no big difference, really. And so that's why I looked at the jury. So then he said, you did this. And I would say, no, sir. And then he would say, but you did this. Like, for example, he said, you took $800 of their money and all you gave them was a dead baby. And so I would say, yes, sir. I took $800 and then I looked at my chart and I counted up all the prenatals and how long we were at the labor and this and that. And I said, and what I gave them was this. And I grieved their dead baby with them. But I look at the jury to tell them this. So on until finally he said, and when the baby was born, you did this and this and this. But it wasn't true. What I did was, and they had a baby. So I took the baby and I just did my hand actions. What I did with this breech baby, it was exactly the same actions. Uh, they called an obstetrician, a board certified obstetrician with this big, long list of importance. And they said, how should she have handled to deliver this breech baby? And they were exactly the same actions that he said. So it was uh, not the final thing or anything, but it was this growing place where the prosecutor was on more and more shaky ground as he tried to come up with another question, 6 hours of questions. And then it was finished. Several more witnesses adjourned. We go out to wait for the verdict. They called it verdict. We dispersed, the whole courtroom dispersed. We go to lunch or not lunch, a coffee shop. And right away, the judge is calling everybody back. And so law enforcement running through the streets saying, get back, they have a verdict. And JR was out of his mind. He's like, oh my God, only bad verdict comes right away.
Can you remember that moment?
Of course.
I mean, are you like shitting yourself? Like what is that moment like when you are about to hear the verdict of potentially being jailed the rest of your life?
What's going through my mind are my 3 children. I have 3 minor children.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, my sister and I, we had figured out our plan, what to do with my children, because this is my biggest things on my mind.
Ugh.
And JR, he prepared me. He said, they're going to take you immediately. I cannot, there's nothing I can do about that. I already have it written up. I will apply for a appeal. We work with appeal, and this is he was a beautiful legal midwife. He prepared me completely. If it goes this way, this is what is going to happen, and this is what I'm going to do. And I will not abandon you. Of course, his charges were $500 an hour. And I remember when I found that out, this was back in February or so, I said, oh, well, when I need to speak to you, forgive me for not inquiring about your health or your children or your
Yeah,
family. We must just, we must just get right straight to the point.
that's funny.
Yes, that is the way we must handle it. But so in that moment, I was just shaking, but a little bit just probably shock. And I just was studying the eyes of the jury because I had been studying them. And I was calm in my mind, knowing, okay, my sister's going to take, we had our plan for my children. They were in the courtroom. Of course, courtroom filled with all my people and them just crying and everybody wishing they could do something to.
Ugh.
But yeah, we stood up. The judge said, you must stand. We did. JR was holding my hand so tight. Actually, that's not true. Now I remember, I can feel it in my body. He put his hand around my waist and holding my hand, just holding me up for fear I would just be shaken,
Sure.
not stand straight and tall.
Oh,
But I did. And then the main person of the jury, of course, the jury also, all these many months, they had been bombarded by the press asking them questions and this and that. But anyway, this is what they said. We find her not guilty. And that sound, not guilty, I felt like it was an echo, like not guilty. I think all the people all behind me and everybody else and JR was crying. I was crying. Of course, not guilty. That's what was echoing, not guilty. It meant I don't know what all it meant. It meant I'm going to get to keep my children. I'm going to go home with my children. That's what it meant. I wondered about, the family, how they felt. I wondered, believe it or not, I wondered why the prosecution didn't come over and say he was sorry. I asked JR why he doesn't tell us he's sorry because it's not guilty. And we went through all this. And JR said they never say they're sorry. They don't do that. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry for him because he's supposed to be representing justice. Like he should be happy if justice is served. This is 12 people that took out all their time. So then they came to me, this jury, not all of them, but most of them, they came and they said to me, they never had anyone look at them. This was really moving for me that they too were people and
right.
they felt the weight of this decision that they were having to make. Um, I should stop talking now. I want to think about the family and everything that came after that. Of course, I didn't stop, but it's a big deal. Everybody out there, if you're helping another mother, um, we had to ask ourselves before then and after then would I go to jail for this family? It was one of our questions. Would I go to jail for this mother and baby? And yeah, it just shouldn't be that way, but it's been that way from the beginning, that it's uh, a big deal. And so the family, the mother, me, myself, when I was a mother, it's our responsibility also to ask, how can I protect the people that are helping me? It's my responsibility to birth my child. And if they're willing to put cloth on my head or wash the dishes or because everybody was arrested in this birth, even the people that were just cleaning up, everybody was arrested.
Really.
So it's one of my vows. I have 7 vows, and one of them is to to preserve sacred birth, simple and sacred birth, and to protect the midwives who serve them.
What was the dynamic with the family?
May I take a drink now?
Of
I
course.
feel like I need a
Yeah,
drink.
take your time.
Oh my goodness.
It's a big story.
Yes, it's a big story. It was made into a play in Chicago one time. And the family, it's very sad. I don't know how they are now. I've tossed in 1,000 prayers in the fire circles. They went on to have a beautiful, healthy baby. But what I learned is that um, one of the parents, their mother was a worker, like secretary worker for the prosecution, for the prosecuting attorney. And it did change. Like usually I would ask a mother what she does and father, what does he do? But now I did learn how to ask, wow, what does everybody in your family do? Because always with the mothers, of course, like if the mother of the mother is like an obstetrician or high intellectual person, well, we know that those mothers are at risk. They have a bigger challenge birthing. It just documented. It's just a fact. You have to overcome this kind of early infiltration into the female psyche to free yourself, to find your instinct. But yeah, I feel the family um, grieving and hurting, we were not allowed to have connection. Other families where a baby has been lost, or even a mother, I have had beautiful, perfect connection with those families and been able to go through the grieving together and postpartum and heal and all the things that are best for a village for sure, but not this family.
You've supported a family where the mother has died?
Yes, I
Oh my
have.
God. Like in birth?
Yes, it's true.
Oh,
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
I don't think you drank your water yet.
Yes, thank you.
Wow. I've never heard of that
Maternal loss. Yeah.
outside of the system in America of recent times.
Yeah. I honor it's these situations are uh they're deeply physical, of course, but they also are deeply cultural or and spiritual. So in Mexico it's not unusual at all to lose a mother.
That's where this happened.
Um, both it's been in America and in Mexico and other countries. It's um, they're usually very deep reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And to lose a mother, so maternal loss. I've actually had someone write me recently and ask me for my risk assessment for maternal loss because she said, I am worried about it for myself. I have too many of the risk factors. And so I honor that she's being aware of this. I wish we would expand. So we have expanded infant mortality to really include more than just first, few days of life. And same for maternal loss. It can be a heartbreaking reality when a woman doesn't have the culture, the community around her. And this should never happen for home, right?
Right.
But it's a different problem. We have too many mothers that have what I always say is an amazing home birth, but I have seen uh, just amazing, beautiful home births unravel in the first few days because postpartum does not have the support of
Mm-hmm.
the village. So
Totally.
this can happen too. Yeah, we must be very strong people.
Oh,
We need to talk about something. Uh,
but you go on to keep midwifing.
yes, Yes, I certainly have.
I mean, this whole you have to be willing to go to jail for a family is like, but how could you ever be willing while you have children?
Well, um, you don't have to be willing, but it's important to ask yourself, just like a mother should ask herself, what is the worst thing that could happen in my labor and birth? What is the worst thing? Because if you are able to be honest with yourself, what is the worst thing? Then you can function, you can work with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but you need your wits about you. Or I
Mm-hmm.
will often ask people, do you have a faith that serves you? I don't care what faith it is, but does it serve you? What's the hardest, most difficult thing you've dealt with?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting ready to be a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I, I've lived long enough. I'm still a whippersnapper. I'm only in my 70s, but women bury an 18-month-old. They bury a 4-year-old. They
Mm.
bury a 21-year-old. You're getting ready to be a mother and
Ugh.
on the the biggest path,
Yeah.
the most sacred path. So yes, we want our babies to breathe at birth and it's a happy moment, but there's no guarantee. Like we want the river to flow as it should, where the elders walk on first, but it doesn't always work
Of
that
course.
way. Sometimes river flows other direction and break our hearts in half. We need we need a community, we need a faith that serves us. So that's why if I some of the youngest women that I've helped, I love helping teenagers. I'm amazed. Some of them are the strongest. Like they've already lived through a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and they birth incredibly. So yeah, I don't know. But if someone tells me, or for example, one time I had a father ask me, "Well, who do I sue if something goes wrong?"
Oh my God.
And I said, "Well, not me." And not anybody that I know. Like
I would like to fully exempt myself.
I'm not referring you to anyone. And I felt terrible for the woman
Wait,
because
did you serve them? No.
no,
Yeah.
no, I said, not me.
Yeah.
No, and no one that I know. Like I'm not, and I felt terrible for the woman because
Mm.
it was unfortunate that that's who she was partnered with.
Mm-hmm.
But so am I willing to suffer the extremes for this woman? uh, you better be because it could happen. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time it doesn't. Most of the time it's just this my births, right? That's I love birth. It's first breaths are it's where a woman finds her power. She's meant to find it there, and she does find it there. It should be so protected so that that moment is when I'm in with elder women and I ask them about their births, it's the one thing they always remember, even if they were asleep and can't remember. Like they could have done 1,000 things in this world, but to talk about their children, okay, now you have their attention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had in Mexico, they'll say, "Oh, God gave me 5 and took 4."
Mm.
I mean, God gave me 9 and took 4. Like I have 5 children left. Whatever. Like it it's incredible. I love being a part of it, but to be a part of it, uh, if you stay with it, you must also be a part of sacred last breaths.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what might you say about, you said at the beginning, I don't know if we were recording already, but you said that you, maybe, I don't remember how you phrased it, but you love boundaries or you're really good at boundaries. And what would you say to the newer birth workers who haven't, walked in such depth yet? What guidance or wisdom do you have around choosing the families you serve and to practice boundaries? Obviously something that we see all the time is the hero, dynamic and women feeling bad for women. And so then extending beyond their red flags or their boundaries. Yeah. What might you say?
Let's see. well, everyone has to be true to themselves, but I'll just say for me, I do a 6-hour interview. So that's just a given, and I don't decide then. And I don't ask them to decide then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna just, we're gonna have tea, we're gonna talk, I'm gonna find out all kinds of things about them. And that's if I don't know them, right? Which
Yeah.
is it's a whole game changer to not know people. And by know them, I don't mean you met them last week. I mean know them. They've been a part of your community, your so I do a long or 6-hour interview. Then I say let's go home, see if we have more questions, more thoughts, or if it's a no right away, then no is easy. But even if it's a yes, it's like, oh, like think about it. I remember with Luann Brown, my very first person that I helped that I didn't know. And she had 9 babies. So that's a good way to start. Make sure you're with people who've had babies before and they've done a great, they've got some life under them. But I remember trying to talk her out of it. Like, Luann, I am not a little old granny midwife, da 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 da. And I remember her looking at me and saying, well, how are you going to be one if you don't get started?
Yeah.
So, so making sure that you're helping people that have some experience, if you don't have very much. If you make sure you have a list of the questions that you know are important to you. Listen to what they say. Don't try to make it candy coated or talk them out of it, make it prettier somehow. Like, listen, people tell you their truth. They just do. They tell you the truth. And then at any point, certainly before the first 100 births or so, make sure you consult. Like talk it over with somebody else that's got some experience and tell them how what's going on, what you're thinking, and then listen to them. It should the excitement should be growing and rising, and a sense of extreme independence and responsibility. Do they have that in other areas of their life? And for me, it's natural and instinctual. Can they squat and pee like outside, or is that just like a little too much? It's like, wow, okay. Well, you're gonna squat and pee. You're gonna do a whole lot more than squat and pee. Like, I spend time having lunch with them. Our prenatals, we walk. I don't know. I would say always consult. Always have
Yeah.
somebody further than you that you are talking things over with, and have fun. Bring some knowledge and skills to it and keep learning.
So tell me about the part of you, of your spirit, that after this almost year, being arrested and being on trial and facing manslaughter charges and just the bigness of that and the potential reality of that should the sentence have gone the other way. Tell me about the part of you that stays on the path of birth work and that stays in the game, so to speak. Like, what on earth is that about?
I don't, let's see, what part of me, my spirit, maybe part of it is so I used to actually think I was a midwife, but I'm not really a midwife. I'm actually a um a believer in the power of women. And birth is just one of those places
Mm-hmm.
where her power is unequivocal. Like, it's just and so I can figure out 1,000 ways to support the right woman in her birth.
Mm.
I mean, if she's the right woman for me, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the right, so there's no one right midwife for all women, but there is a right midwife for every woman. And so if she's the right one for me, hi, Andrea from Nicaragua, I can figure out a way to support her. It might be by phone. It might be with me in a closet. It might be with me with another midwife. There's just 1,000 ways. You don't have to be in a birth room to be at a birth. Oh, or you might be in a birth room. Um, I I think I have such a spirit of discernment, and I do have very good boundaries. So for example, if I finally do say yes, like if she wins my heart, and she's got to win my heart, and this was before the arrest. Uh, because we are now, and I tell her that we are going to be in it. Like, I'm going to know more about you than your husband knows. Like, it, I'm going to be up in your business. And I don't mean like checking her all the
Yeah,
time,
of course.
but what you ate, how you dream, what was your dream? How's the relationship with your mother going? Like, we are in it now. You're going to be in a river, and now here I am. I'm not going to be walking along the bank wishing you well. Like, I'm down in the river with you. I'm feeling the current. So if I say yes, I'm not going to abandon her. I never have
Oh,
yet.
yeah.
Like, I'm not, if I say yes, now she might fire me, and I sometimes beg them to. Like, once we get that far and their life goes haywire or whatever, I'm like, fire me. I can always use more time. Like, I'm good if I'm not right for you. But if I've said yes to you, now I'm not going to abandon you because you are the one that's in a vulnerable position.
Totally.
I'm in a vulnerable position for sure, but you're never going to feel that. You're never going to know it like I know it. Of course, you'll know my kids and my life and this and that. They're all raised now. But a woman, every person's thoughts revolve primarily around themselves. And the more that she is deep in her journey and her baby is moving, and maybe she finds out her friend's baby died, or maybe like in our situation in the Mennonite community when we lost Ellen, a maternal loss. Oh my God, for like a year and a half, every single mother was sure she was going to die,
Mm.
right? It's normal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
common. We share a cosmic consciousness together. And all of us were like on our knees, like, please, no more of
Mm.
this. Baby after baby that's pink, mother after mother that's nursing. It's like, oh, okay, this feels so much better. But I have good boundaries. So for example, if I've made an appointment to see you and you don't show up, and I tell them this in the interview, one time you can do that. One time. I'll assume your car broke down or your dog died or I don't know what. But I've left everything in my world to be available to
Right.
you.
Seriously.
And so if you don't show up, do you want me to just not show up when you call in
Right.
labor because I'm just doing something else?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't treat me that way. We are deep in this serious business that hopefully is going to have like a birthday cake at the end. But one way or the other, if you birth a live baby, then now we are in it because either that live baby is going to bury you or you're going to bury it one day.
Mm.
Like, now we are in it. And I just talk like that in the
Yeah.
interview. So I have really good boundaries, and I expect the same thing back. Um, have I made some mistakes? Horrible ones. Why I have to build a fire and toss them in? Things I wish I'd never said or done or heard or saw. Transports that I'm like, why did we transport? They're doing a shittier job than we would have done if we just stayed
Seriously.
home.
Yeah.
So, but would I tell another midwife that if she's scared and not sure? I'm like, nope, you gotta trust yourself, do the next right thing. And then if you go in and you find out that they did a shittier job than you would have done, if you were there, then next time you probably will walk 2 or 3 steps more
Right. That's how we
than you
learn.
would have walked. And
Totally.
that's how we learn. And then we build a fire and we say, oh my God, I learned that and I am so sorry. But when you're in the community and the village together, there's a few people that don't cherish you, I guess. I don't know. I have an internal tape that tells me that if they only knew me, they'd adore me. I think the reason I think that is because I adore people.
Yeah.
I just do. I even if you don't like me, I like you. Like I just I see the brighter side
Mm-hmm.
of you. And I can't help it. It's not like I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I just that soul just shines out for me. And so I really I do find myself cherished and with a whole world of people to cherish. But yeah, when it comes to birth and death and their hands in hands, right?
Yeah.
They cannot be separated. They go together. They're gonna happen one way or the other, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a Scorpio moon and it gets very serious.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me. I have a Leo sun and a Scorpio moon, and you get both if you get me.
Yeah, I'm thinking about forgiveness, self-forgiveness on this path and how to walk this path for any real length of time and stay, you know, stay on it, keep getting on it, keep learning, keep getting so stripped through the mistakes, and the women keep birthing.
Well, don't you think you have to know what your purpose is?
Right.
So it may be for some people, if we're talking about birth keepers, it may be that their purpose was for a certain period of time. And then, so we know this about our certified nurse midwives, for example, unless things have changed, they have a life expectancy of about 5 years. They're in a lot of pressured environment,
Mm,
and they can usually only hang with that for a certain period of time, and then they
yeah.
go on to do something else, and that's okay. You bow to your purpose, but you have to know what your passion and your purpose is, and if that wanes, then you don't have your creative fire
Mm-hmm.
burning. We need a creative fire. Our soul is just as important as the mother's soul and the baby's soul. And I have a lot of passions. I have a lot of passions in life. Football's not one of them, but my gardens and women's circles, and of course, birth, sacred last breaths. Uh, oh my goodness, I chant Vedic chants. I love yoga. I have a lot of passions in life, and I have more energy than there is daylight, so I need all those 24 hours for sure. But when it comes to birth, if you're a birth keeper, then respect that calling and that passion and that purpose. It will keep opening the path for you,
Mm-hmm.
and you must have a faith that serves you. I don't know what it is, but if you don't know that you're the daughter of the great mother, she has 1,000 names, then you're out there trying to do something like you are the great
Mm-hmm.
mother. And uh, God, Goddess help you because it's a humble and it's a powerful place to know that the angels, the ancestors, the great mother, they're, they're there, call on them. And it's not like it's all going to turn out the way you want it to. It's going to turn out better.
Hmm. Yeah, there's been so much energy this year in my life, in my extended community around loss. And, I'm always trying to wrap my head around the the pers not really my perspective because I am fairly seasoned in these realms and have, worked through, I've been in birth work for over 20 years, and so I have known these cycles, I guess you could say, that sometimes move through a community. And I see, I guess my what I see is so many women are new to mothering communities. They just had their first baby or they're about to have their first baby, and they're coming into mothering communities and they're interacting with loss for the first time, and meaning someone in the membership or the community or online or in person or in their circle, whatever, any axes of women gathering, a woman will birth a stillborn. And it's interesting to watch how it's just like it's so new to these women. They haven't been around mothers birthing babies that aren't alive yet. They haven't been birth workers for 20 years. They have no reference point for how guaranteed it is, I guess you could say, at some point in a mothering community. Like you said, they're hand in hand, and it is way more common. It's a way more normal experience than we're led to believe, I think, in mainstream culture. And so I've just really noticed from where I sit a lot of shock and disorientation, which are normal responses to death, also. I mean, I'm not at all trying to say this is weird. I've just noticed a lot of shock and confusion around when death occurs. And because I'm obviously, and as you are as well, in the sovereign space, in the outside of the medical system space, people seem very, very quick to blame free birth, blame the mother, blame the midwife, blame the birth keeper. And I think it's rooted in one of the things it's rooted in is a real lack of understanding of maybe I could say how common it is because it's their first time interacting with it. Does that make sense?
It does, but for me, I'm pondering, it's bringing up for me the fact that we've lost the bridge. So these young mothers that you're talking about are women, and that doesn't mean they could be 40 and having their first, but they're not meant to not have wise elders.
Sure.
The community and the bridge uh from the sacred ways and the people that walked them and held them and still do are meant to be uh, that foundation and that beautiful space that this is happening in, like the old forest. So there's that. The bridge is not there. So they're handling something alone that was never handled alone before. Second of all, I ponder destiny. So it's just like I said that it's heartbreaking to like transport and see like this, we could have done this better at home. It's also heartbreaking to see if people send me videos of their baby, that's dying and died, is a stillborn. It's heartbreaking to see that there are some things that skillfully could have been done.
Totally.
And so it what I ponder is destiny, because we don't have control over life and death. This is not true. Um, so I want to add one, I want to come back to destiny, but the other thing is normal, like you mentioned, this shock and whatever's normal, but it's also normal to uh, to be in cultures where death is an integrated
Hmm.
reality. And I've been so blessed. Uh, and Sally, I want to acknowledge you, and Wilhelm, who rented a car and came to my land just a few years ago. Their baby had been born, stillborn, and they were pregnant with a new baby. And Wilhelm's statement to me was, "Sister, we're sad, but we are no strangers to death. We know that these things happen." So this comes from a culture and a faith,
Yeah,
and
of
certainly all in Mexico, not a complacency of like, okay, well,
course.
they live or die. No, a working reality, a working capacity and skill to know how to be when baby lives and how to be when baby doesn't take that first breath, when baby's life is complete at the day it's born or 2 days later or 18 months later or whatever. Like this capacity is also normal, and it's not normal in our world, and it's very unfortunate. So I do want to go back to destiny though, because it I'm pondering it a lot myself. Like, oh, okay, maybe this situation could have been a different outcome. Like Michelle Odon says, if we sectioned all babies at 37 weeks, we would end up with more live babies. It's a fact.
Hmm.
Why don't we do it? It's wrong. Like, we don't do it because it's wrong, but we would end up with more live babies. So, could the baby have been? So, I'm just like, this baby chose this mother in this situation. There is more going on here. There is destiny going on here. How to bow to a situation that is unfolding, we could say, as it should. Is this a big question mark? I don't know. So for me, when I'm in a birth, if I am, for example, in Mexico, often I was in a birth, baby born alive, and the mother would say, and it would be a girl, for example, girl baby, and she would say, please kill it, or take it, take it. It's going to have horrible life. I know I'm a woman. I know this situation, what's going to happen. And I remember I would say, with brightness, it's true. This would be true what you're speaking. People always speak their truth, right? They just do. So I would say to this mother, it's true. You're right. It would be that way, but it's not going to be that way because I was here. So I changed the situation. This child now is going to save her people. I know it because I'm raising it up to the light, and I'm saying, may you live long enough to know why you were born. This little girl is going to save her people. She's going to have a different destiny. And why do I think these things? Because I was born that way. I was born in tuberculosis hospital with a nurse who said, this child gonna live and be different. So we change. I'm changing you, you're changing me, we're all changing each other by our presence and impact. And so may it be a positive thing that we're bringing. And it's okay to learn from a mistake, or from, we don't know, I don't know if that was the right word, but I guess it's not a mistake if that's the way it came down. But it's also okay to learn of, like, wow, I can learn, I can try something different next time, or I can try less. This is the big problem for the medical community, right? They think one more thing and one more thing when it's actually one less thing,
Yeah.
one less thing, one less thing, more privacy, more low lights, more woman instead of man, more, less can end up being like the beautiful thing that happens. But each woman, she is her living intelligence. She is the living Athena, the living temple, the living intelligence right now. So if she's feeling something, thinking something, um, that's our best, that's our best guide in that moment, to trust her, and then trust ourselves, trusting her. It's a
Yeah.
big deal.
I think we're combating this narrative that, trust birth as long as it gives you a live baby. Home birth is okay as long as it works. Free birth, women are down to free birth until it doesn't work the way they want it to.
But
It's,
this, Emily, is just emotional immaturity.
yeah,
We cannot do what we believe in, whether we're a mother and let in our children, climb the tree or run around or swim in the lake or whatever. We cannot do what we're doing only because it will turn out okay.
right.
If that's the only reason we're doing what we're doing, then we don't believe in what we're doing.
Well, I don't, and I think that's what I'm seeing. I think that is what's getting revealed. And that's been something I've seen kind of unravel this past year. And this isn't a judgment or a critique. It's more of just an observation because I ponder on as a leader and a community organizer, how can I serve where I see so many people are at? And I want to see and I pray to see a women's community that can hold all of it.
It
Of
must.
course, it must. Exactly, it must. Because if it doesn't, if there's any edges to that of the immaturity, or if that takes hold as central, we're just we're doomed, and the mothers are doomed.
The
Because
village from the beginning of time held it all. So
right.
if we must grow the village back. We will have it.
So maybe as we're closing, you could speak a bit to what you're bringing to our last year of Matriarch Rising Festival, and it will be your third time co-creating with us, and I'm so excited to have you be a part of this last one. And there's a daily offering of you, I think every single day of the 4 days. And yeah, maybe if you could just share with everyone, and let's start with the Sky Baby ceremony, because both you and I have obviously talked about this, and there aren't many spaces that can hold it all, and there aren't, in the free birth, maybe you could say, community that I'm aware of. Yeah, I mean, it's all what's the word, discombobulated, because it's largely connecting through online. And so what happens when a woman births and doesn't have her baby, and this is a huge gaping wound in so many mothering communities that I don't feel is held very well. Anyway, so we are going to be offering a moment, a sacred moment for these women, and inviting other women to co-create with us. So maybe speak on that, and then the other two offerings.
Well, what you asked first was, what am I bringing? I think what I want to bring is just the old forest. I want to bring myself. That's we need wise elders. And I'm just baby. I'm just only in my 70s. My favorite people are they're in their hundreds, and they don't read or write. They're so wise. So I will bring what I can uh, to love the people and just bring the old forest. Now, the old forest, of course, the old trees, they've really sent out all of their new leaves, right? So I have my deep old roots, and also have the energy and the enthusiasm of the new life. And as far as the star babies, or the grieving circle, the sky babies, this should be ideally handled within community, right? Our community, we do this. We have burial grounds. It's a lot of ceremony, a lot of presence. It no mother should ever be alone with a new baby that she's got milky breast and laundry up to the ceiling and other toddlers running. And I nursed 3 babies at one time. It's a big deal, right? Living baby. And that's what I tell mothers. You more than likely your baby's going to live, and you're going to be very busy. But then there's this situation. So what can we do in June together? I will do my very best. I will bring my best, and we will do. It depends on how many people are there, of course, but we cannot hear everyone's whole story, because this is what the community does on a yoni stool, with herbs and all night long, and the fires and the drums and the food and the songs and the healing. But we can bring as much as we can. Maybe we can have some yoni stools available, and add ritual and ceremony. And probably the most important thing is that no one walks away without a name for their star baby. And all of us, many of us, have star babies or sky babies, whatever we want to call them. One of the most important circles I was in where we spoke of this was even for the babies who were aborted, on the other side. And those babies also, they are our babies. And so for a mother to learn to change our culture and to say, I have 3 children and 2 are still with me. I have a star baby to acknowledge, because when someone says, how many children do you have? If we dumb ourselves down and dumb the culture and we only mention our live babies, then in the mind of the mother, she's remembering her baby. It's not possible. A woman's thoughts revolve primarily around herself and her own story. And so she's aware of her baby. Why not speak it? So that's the first thing, is we can make sure we acknowledge our children, and if they're new, if they're people who are raw and real and they haven't named their baby yet, we'll make sure our babies have a name if they wish. And we'll just add as much ritual and ceremony and honoring as we possibly can. That's my plan.
And what about the 2 workshops you'll be offering?
Well, I won't stop working. So this is ridiculous thing that happens to me when I'm called to be off my land and be at something. It's
Yeah,
like,
just
okay, so
find you.
have you from here to there. Like I'm
Mhm.
going to Australia in November, and they're like, okay, we have you highlining something or other here to there. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do the rest of the time? I will be working. So
I
that
know what
just
you're gonna do. You're gonna have a trail of maidens following you around, singing and
absolutely, may
clapping.
it be so. May
You
it
know,
be
I
so. We
haven't
will.
told you this yet, but the area where you're gonna be, we're calling it MorningStar Village. And
Yay.
yeah, so it's a whole venue, and that's where you'll have your
Oh,
stuff, and it'll
oh,
be,
wonderful.
yeah.
Because one year we were meeting under the trees with rain and whatever,
Hmm.
but we can do whatever we want when it's not the scheduled things. We can we if somebody brings some baby dolls or little animals, and we can practice things. We can do whatever we want. But in the things that we've planned, I think there's a village prenatal, one of my favorites that I've just uh migrated all over the world. It's a beautiful thing. So we will honor the wombfuls, and that will be fun. We'll have lots of ritual and ceremony, and we need lots of icons and altars and chocolate. We must have chocolate. We must have color. We must have silks and drapes and a throne and all the things. And we will honor the wombful mothers, and we will find out their ideal, because it's critical, right? It's critical to know what is your ideal. It's so fun. My favorite ideal that a woman spoke from Colombia when I was doing this in Arizona one time. She had married an American man and been brought, and she said, "Well, I just want a live baby." And I said, "Well, wonderful. We all do. We usually all do." So I handed the talking stick back to her, and I said, "Tell us, talk us through it." And she went back in her mind into her country, and she said tortillas would be cooking downstairs, and there would be drummers outside, and I would be up in the moonlight in the upper room, and sweet grass on the stove, and da 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 da. And so afterwards, some of the women in her local community, they said, uh, I'll make the tortillas.
Mm,
I'll gather the drum circle. And I said, you must tell me about your story when it's over. I always ask everyone, please write me. I never tire of the stories. And sure enough, later, this is what happened for her. And she said, Sister, all because you asked me to say my
right.
ideal. So we of course will speak of this.
Dare to dream.
It's important. You're
Yeah.
putting your foot on the path to make it happen.
Hmm.
It is not for weak wishing. You
Yeah.
must work for it. But how can the universe help
Right.
work if you're not being clear and
Hmm.
working for it? It's exciting. And then the other one, Emilee, what is it? I don't
The
remember.
gathering of women.
Oh yeah, the women's circles. Well, it's where it's the beginning and the end of everything. The women must gather. If the women gather, then from that beautiful circle, then all the other things can be born and cared for and taken care of.
Mm.
But I do want to say, and I'll say it that day, I hope I remember, just like in village prenatal, may we live long enough to know why we were born is a Cherokee blessing for birth. But for Women's Circle, I think we must begin to think more about what we can give to the sisterhood, not what we can get. So this is kind of a young thinking that I am dealing with, and of course,
Mhm.
and I give them, if they come to the land and they come to my Women's Circle, I just start giving them work these days because selfless service and work, we just come too soon with, or they'll write me, they're like, oh, I'm in a difficult time of my life and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, go do some work.
Seriously.
Yeah, so what can we give to the sisterhood? Not so much what can we get.
I
And then
mean,
the
that would be a paradigm shift.
it must happen.
God.
And it's what we expect of the elders, right?
Hmm.
And my daughter Tabitha, she's very protective of me. All my daughters are right now. And they're like, Mother, other people retire. Why are you still going out there and speaking and helping these people? Let them just do it. Like they're protective of me because,
Sure.
like my granddaughter asks every time I leave the land, Gramsy, do they know how to show respect to their elders? She worries about this because too many people, they're very selfish right now, not
Hmm.
selfless. They're not asking, what can I do? They're asking, what can
Mm.
I get? But it is not, again, it is not the way the river flows. As we begin, and I don't mean this problem also where people are overworked and overextended and
No,
no.
totally.
So I'm wondering, Emilee, if one of the nights we could have a big fire circle with some sage and lavender, and we just toss in what we want to release. But we can toss in all the things that we want to be gone, and then we can also toss in what we want to bring forth.
Totally. In this last 5 years, I have really learned firsthand that the entitlement and the juvenile wanting without actually contributing and co-creating and showing up in a how can I serve?
Mhm.
And shy of that, when we're talking about community, shy of family showing up, people showing up saying, how can I serve? And I don't mean serve me. I mean
Mhm.
serve the central, serve the organism that is this vision or this prayer. Um, it seems to me that in this, we could call them selfish times, but it's also this survival mode that is so selfish by design, because if you're in survival, there's a inherent perceived threat. So what people say they want versus what they're actually available for are very different. And so when we talk about women's circles and we talk about community, there's this real kind of fictitious fantasy feeling about it. Not for you. You have a lived reality of this for a long time, obviously. But a lot of people, especially since 2020, have been fantasizing about community and women's circles, and I see this mega lack of very few people are actually wanting it and coming to the table with how can I serve? It's what can I get?
So let's leave these ladies, whoever's listening, to really
Yeah,
write in the
think on
sand
that.
or journal or whatever. Think about what are your gifts? What is it that you can give?
Hmm.
Not out of being burdened or
No.
overwhelmed or any negative giving, but l- truly like your creative fire. Like what is it that you can give to a sisterhood? Why would a sisterhood want you in it? Like,
Hmm.
do you know that you're irreplaceable? Do you know your worth is so great that the Great Mother gave you life to live fully? Like, what is it that you bring from your place of enthusiasm and fullness and unabandonedly, freely, you're happy to share a bit of it with others. And if everybody shows up in this
Right.
way, we will get the garden weeded. We will get the
Hmm.
garden planted. We will harvest together. We will feast and celebrate together. We will have land to do all the sacred things we need to do, and the love will only grow. And if there is a a, a problem, we will face it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. So, in closing, final MRF, if you're listening and feel called to come sit with Sister and myself and participate and co-create in these beautiful things we've just articulated, we will have a sacred fire on the first night, and we should do just that. I think that's an important way to start our 5 nights together. Yeah, and then for those of you who won't be able to join us in person, I just want you to know it's not time yet, that it's not available yet, but Sister Morningstar and I did a retreat about a year ago here on my land. We called it the Midwife Within, and it was 5 days with you, sisters, offering tons of teachings. And I mean, you spent a whole day on first breaths, and we had a bunch of placentas that we got to know and learned all about that from you, how to make a drum. We buried them. There's tons of soned.
So beautiful. It was
Yeah,
so fun.
it was
It was
so
so
fun. It was, and so I had it professionally videoed and recorded to turn into a virtual retreat, which we are almost ready to release to the public. So it's really special, and it's primarily your workshops, edited and consolidated into this virtual retreat experience. So if you're far away or in a place in your life where you're like, there's no way I can come, to this women's gathering in June, this is a real heart offering that will be available, I believe, in July. And we'll leave in the show notes, we'll leave the landing page for you to check out for now. Yeah, and it's 5 days of you, Sister Morningstar, just offering and giving and singing and leading and teaching, and it's really amazing. And it's in a yurt, and it's on beautiful land. We have a village prenatal. We do true queen, false queen. It's
fun.
just special. It has ceremonies and ritual, and I'm speaking to you listening, you will learn so much by watching Sister weave her magic for these 5 days and covering all these huge topics. Yeah, so I'm excited to put that out there.
Well, thank you so much, because it was so much fun, and the women it's because we were together. We had a direct experience. And
Yeah.
so to be able to bring and offer a direct experience to those who couldn't be there, that's very beautiful.
Yeah,
Can
it's gonna
we,
feel very cozy to get to watch.
yeah, I can't wait. Can we close with this song that I sang to survive my trial, or
Hmm.
survive? Do you remember it? It's actually an old Negro gospel. Or it comes from that. Actually, they don't even know. It's so old. They don't know who really started it. But well, can I sing it? And
You
we
sing it,
invite.
and I'm with you. And if you
Okay,
are listening in your car with your
please,
kids right now, please
please,
join in and sing with her. Yes.
please do. Please join in. Just imagine your feet in the creek, and you're walking in the creek, and the way that the river flows, and the woods and the forest are beside you on either side. Just like a tree that's planted by the waters, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved.
Thank you so much, sister. I can't wait to hug you next month.
Yes, and I get to hug two people when I hug you. Okay, blessed
Oh,
be
love
everyone.
you.
Blessed be.
Mwah. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show today. You can support this podcast by donating to it through the link in the show notes below. And of course, leaving an awesome review on whatever platform you listen on. The more reviews, the more visibility the show gets. So let's spread the good word of sovereign birth. Don't forget, you can watch our podcast interviews
on YouTube and see the women as they tell their birth and power stories. And you'll also find our viral free birth collection of epic, raw birth videos on our YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. We've always got a lot going on at Free Birth Society, and you can find out all about it at freebirthsociety.com, at Free Birth Society on Instagram, and opt in to my newsletter below. We offer courses on free birth, authentic midwifery, the blood mysteries, as well as one-on-one coaching, in-person retreats, and of course our annual women's gathering, the Matriarch Rising Festival. Our exclusive, private, vetted membership, The Lighthouse, is definitely something to check out if you're looking for a community of wise sisters to get guidance from and to meet in real life. Together we rise, sisters. We must speak our stories, fully claim our lives, and support one another. This is the living revolution, and I am so grateful to be in it with all of you. I'll leave you with our gorgeous Free Birth Society theme song, Wild Woman by Aruba Red.
I honor you for the wisdom you held, the ancient traditions of plant medicine and womb magic. I feel the spirit of the ancestors as I place my hands upon my belly. This sacred portal will be honored. Eons upon light beams of survival, withstanding the eradication of our power by design. I will not allow the separation of our young to be forced upon me. My sisters will no longer birth in captivity. The picket line redefined from burning our wild women to paralyzing us and drugging our babes. Strapped down in a clinical white bed, drying up the milk from our breasts. Keep your needles. My family will never again be doomed to chase those dragons or your poison. We reject your fear. We choose love. Everything with intention. Death, ascension. I will fly and bring her back